I'm Nick Baker. I'm the Director of Horticulture here at Bok Tower Gardens, and just wanted to show you a little bit about our agave plant here. We've getting a lot of questions about our agave plant, like what is it doing? Well, this is actually the bloom of the agave plant. This is how it blooms. Agaves naturally, well, they're called the century plant. And the reason they're called the century plant is because in their natural habitat, the desert, they don't bloom very often. They sense when conditions are best for seed dispersal, and that's what triggers them into bloom. So they won't bloom unless there's enough water for the seeds to germinate to make new plants. So that's why they got the name century plant, from not blooming very often. Now, in the landscape, and certainly here in Florida, they bloom more often than that. But still, they have to be at least about 10 years to bloom. 10 to 15 years old before the actual bloom. And then once they reach maturity, they just kind of sit and wait, and when conditions are right, they'll go ahead and send up this stalk. And what's really interesting is not just ours, but other agaves all over the community are doing the same thing. So what that tells us is that conditions were right in our area. Something clicked this year, and these mature agaves said, this is a good year for me to bloom. So what happens when it blooms is it begins to put up this spike that just starts out in the center of the plant, and it grows. And right now I'd say that spike's about 25 to 30 feet tall, and that's probably about as tall as it's going to get. And each one of those little pods you see on the end is a flower. Now, what it does after this is pretty much it. This is it in its glory. Each one of those pods will open up, and it'll be a little kind of white, kind of fuzzy flower. So the individual flowers are not much to look at, but it does put up this really, really impressive spike. So what happens next? This is it for the agave. It lives its whole life to deliver this to us. So it sends up its stalk, it blooms, it makes seeds, it disperses its seed, and having fulfilled its purpose, the original mother plant begins to die. Now what will happen as this plant begins to die is small little pups will come up around that. When I say a pup, it's just a little plantlet that shoots up from the roots, and they will ultimately replace the mother plant. So this plant does perpetuate in that sense, other than the seed dispersal. But this original plant will die. And then what we do is we harvest those pups and grow them up, and we'll use them elsewhere in the gardens. Sometimes we'll select one pup that came up here to allow it to go ahead and reestablish here and replace this plant for us.